Question.
One of the reasons why labor, for example, which used from the early 1920s throughout at least the early 1960s, was a major force for change in this country. You know, one could argue that there wouldn't have been the civil rights victories without a strong labor movement behind it. But labor had its own issues with race, and always had. We like to put a face on it so no, labor was bringing the workers together, but it wasn't. You know, there were pockets in which it happened. But I will say this, in the 1950s, labor was targeted by forces who felt threatened by people organizing, laborers organizing. And the age-old rule, we might say, in this country is use race to destruct the movement, to destroy the movement. Use race. And in this way, what began to happen, as I understand history, is that you wanted to make the labor union, you wanted to make the laborers see themselves as white and see themselves invested in keeping a certain arrangement in place. And unions became because they had been so much a part of their own movements and civil rights, began to be seen as enemies. And there was a concerted effort to destroy union membership. And it wasn't until the Reagan administration until that was kind of fully developed. And now we have, you know, a nation that's hardly organized into unions. But race has always been the great divide. And we have to understand, even as unions did great things, they didn't necessarily treat people of color as equals. Now, there are examples to the contrary. But there was a very concerted effort to bust up unions and to make them less of a force. And how do you do that? You do it by emphasizing individual liberties, not collective. Move from a collective redress of grievance, see, that's the movement, to individual expectations, goals. So when white workers begin to have individual goals and ambitions for themselves and their family, then that whole union solidarity, which is always what changes this country, began to break up.